Thanks for tuning in live to Proline TV, part of the Ourlads Football Network on this particular program, as I am Greg DePalma hosting the show along with Mark Lawrence from Playbook Experts. And of course, hopefully you were with us on our show yesterday on Thursday, the Playbook ETS podcast. Got an opportunity to get a head start with us, Andy, Jim, Mark, and I. Also, of course, Wednesday, don't forget to check out Jim Feist with his show in Las Vegas at Dom DeMarco's at 3 o'clock Eastern every week. And I follow with extensive look at everything going on in the NFL and college football. And here we are to wrap it all up, Mark, once again on a Friday. And I think the way the injuries are occurring in the NFL as we start off with the pro football, this is becoming a more and more important show to do each week because we need that extra day to find out exactly who's playing on Sunday.
Yeah, it gives us a chance to review who practiced, who did and didn't on Wednesday, and maybe even perhaps as deep as Thursday. So we're getting a little bit closer to the games and a little bit closer to a feel of who's going to be in and who's going to be out.
Yeah, just taking a look. And I think one of the biggest injury updates everybody needs to keep an eye on now for real is Kyler Murray. I just got an email from my contact, Jess Root, who's the managing editor over at Cards Wire. And I asked him about it. And his exact words, were toss up, to be honest. He'll push to play. I think it is about 50-50 right now. So, a lot of times you get a little bit more inside information from people who are following the team and they say, yeah, it's going to be okay. They say that, especially when a quarterback's questionable a lot of times, it's nothing to be worried about, but apparently it is. So what would you do in a situation like that? Because I don't think they've touched the line yet, right? I believe it's still, the number's still the same. It's been all week.
Yeah, it's still there. And they basically put a number out just anticipating him not playing because if he's injured at that point, he's not playing. Yeah, so they'll put that number out there and be quick to adjust it once word comes out that he is playing. So once they announce, if they do announce he's playing, figure this game will probably move 2 or 3 points.
Yeah. Tough gamble because, look, if you're an Indianapolis side guy this week, then you want to jump all over this right now. And if Kyler Murray does not play, then you get the bonus of having 7 instead of potentially, say, 10. But if you're on the Arizona side, that's a lot different. Jacoby Brissett, though, is not a bad quarterback to come in for one game. If that's all you're asking him to do is come in for one game, he's a former Colt. It's not the worst idea in the world. Let's keep in mind, Arizona has lost all 3 of their games this year by a total of 5 points. So I actually like the Cardinals in this game. And I think they might be actually, if I'm going to pick an upset play this week, this would be the one that I would be looking at.
I like Arizona in the game as well, Greg. They've played really, really well in other domes. They're 5-1 to the spread, just what they'll be at in this particular role. And the last 7 games they played in non-conference games, they're 6-1 to the number. They'll come with everything they've got. And if for no other reason, like you mentioned, they have this close call ability about them this football season here. And when you're talking a spread of more than a touchdown to a team that loves playing close call games, you have to give them a look.
Yeah, the Colts are also one of those teams that, and I don't know what the exact term is. Obviously, you do, where every time they outgain the opponent, they win and cover, and when they don't, they lose and cover. They lose and don't cover. So basically, they're either with the stats or without the stats, or not just winning, but straight up and against the spread. So another thing to keep in mind. It's only been 5 games, though. I think maybe we need a little bit more data on that, but it's just another tidbit. Colts are also 7-2 against the spread as a home favorite, 2-0 in that spot this year. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the other action, and I'll throw in some injury updates along the way before we'll wrap up with the NFL. One of the other games, LA and Baltimore, another 7 in this game. And one of those situations, Mark, that honestly, the way Baltimore's been playing, it looks like they've completely checked out. And what I think also helps, if you're going to take the Rams this week, and frankly, I don't know why you would either. It's either you take the Rams or don't take the game. That's what I think. But is that Baltimore's got a bye next week. And it's one of those situations that you almost feel that when a team, any team, is going through a lot of rough stuff, rough patch, and a bye is coming up the next week, you almost get the feeling that it's like, all right, well, we've already kind of checked out, and now we got a bye coming up next week. We're really going to check out on Sunday. That's kind of the feeling I got this week.
Well, you couldn't blame them for thinking that way, Greg, especially when they're not really playing for a whole lot these days right now. What's interesting to me is they've really never been any good at home off a home game, even when Lamar Jackson and they were healthy and they had a defense. There's 1-9 to the spread the last 10 times in that role, which they'll be in this particular game. But the cautionary thing for me is this, and I believe we talked about it on the ATS podcast. I'm not quite sure, but what I found in my database is NFL road favorites of 7.5 points exact are absolutely horrendous. We saw that Thursday night with the Philadelphia Eagles losing the whole game against the Giants. And if this number sits at 7.5 here, I'd be obligated to play Baltimore, grab a clothespin and play Baltimore.
Yeah. Or again, like I said, just don't take the game.
Yes.
Because it did. Yeah, we did talk about it, and it did happen again. So, and again, that's the final number. So that's the one that you pretty much like an hour before the game, check the line. And if it's 7.5, then there you go. So,
well, my records are the final number, but what really counts is what you bet it at. So, if you bet it at 7.5, you've got the play. Okay. If it goes off at 8 or 8.5, it's going to go in the database that way and it won't show up. But, for your pocket, you bet it at the right number.
Patriots and Saints. And this is actually a game I kind of like. Probably one of my better plays this week. I like the Patriots in this one. It's up to 3.5 now. For a few reasons. One, obviously, they come up with a big win over the Bills, so I think that's got to help their confidence. Kind of get going now. Even though they've won a few games, 3-2. The fact is they could play better. I mean, they really could. I mean, if you look at it, they've been outgained by 4 or 5 of their opponents, so they can play better. But again, you come up with a confident win like that, and I think that should help them this week. Also, throw in the fact that the Saints are 6-13-1. in their last 20 against the spread as a home dog, 0-2 in that role this year. And for a playbook magazine special, they're 1-14 against the spread off a double-digit straight-up win when they take on a non-division opponent. Again, that's 1-14 against the spread. Drake May is a road favorite for the first time in his career, so you do have to keep that in mind. But I still think the Patriots are the way to go.
My biggest concern here, Greg, is that there's a thing called progressions, and we do it in the National Football League. And you go back and you look at NFL teams, and it starts like this. If you win and cover and beat the spread by 17 or more points, and then your very next game, you win the game and beat the spread again, not by 17, but just beat the spread, you are a stone cold loser to try and continue that streak, because you come off of that big point spread win 2 games ago. You scathed by the last game, which for all intents and purposes, it wasn't a scathed by New England, but they did get in and out of Buffalo alive. That particular angle is an automatic fade for me. So I'll be fading New England because of that particular angle. And I'm also looking at a Patriot team that does not do well in other dome stadiums, just 0-4 the last 4 times they've been there. So again, another clothespin, hold my nose, take the points kind of a game.
And then you have the Seahawks and the Jags, and this is could be up there with one of the games of the week. Of course, you've got a Jacksonville team coming off a humongous win against the Chiefs. Showed a lot of guts in winning that game. Come from behind by 2 scores early against a team like that. A franchise like that, I should say, because the Chiefs are not exactly playing well so far this season, but still a major win for the Jags. It is now a short week for them. Seattle's got to go cross country, though, following a loss. And keep in mind, too, that Seattle, as we saw last week with the explosion of offense, Seattle, a lot of that had to do with the fact that they got a banged up secondary. And a lot of those guys that did not play last week don't look good this week. That would be Witherspoon, Woolen, and Love. So they may be without 3 starters in the secondary once again. The Seahawks are 2-0 straight up and against the spread on the road this year. I still like Seattle on this one. Jacksonville's confidence is just through the roof. I completely get that. But the Seattle's kind of backs are against the wall here. I mean, San Francisco's already ahead of them with a win. The Rams, they know the Rams are the Rams. They know how tough they're going to be. And Seattle's sitting there at 3-2. They lose this one, they're 3-3. So there's no question who's the more desperate team. So because of that, I kind of like the Seahawks in this one.
I'm with you on the Seahawks in this football game here as well, Greg. I played them plus 1.5. It's probably pick 'em right now as we're talking. Hopefully we'll be able to see a dog on this football game come Sunday. What I'm doing here largely is two things. One, fading Jacksonville off the big win over Kansas City, in which they were out-yarded, and they allowed the Chiefs a season-high 426 yards. A little bit of a phony confidence-building type of a win. And the other thing that I'm looking to do is to fade Jacksonville, who has really stunk up the joint when they played teams from the NFC West. Just 2-17 to the spread the last 19 games.
Wow.
Only 4 wins straight up. So I'm gonna ride with Seattle in this football game and see if we can't stretch those numbers to make it 2-18.
Okay. I guess the only thing that that we have to be guarded with is that they did beat the Niners this year. So, but maybe that works in our favor because, hey, well, they got their win. So you got to look at it a couple different ways. But anyway, I'm on board anyway with you with Seattle. And
let me put it this way, Greg. They were 1-17 before
they were. Yes,
okay.
They definitely were. That was pretty bad.
Yeah.
And it still is. Okay. Some injury news before we turn our attention over to college football. Brock Bowers looking like he may not play again this week in the game against Tennessee. One big trend I got from the magazine in this one, by the way, Tennessee 0-12 against the spread as AFC dogs of more than 3 when they take on a losing team. They're 0-1 in that spot this year. Anything on that game?
I like Vegas in this football game here as well. They're playing a little bit under the radar in the sense that they're playing some really good defense, surprisingly, the Raiders are. You don't say Raiders and defense in the same sentence too many times, but the fact of the matter is they've held 3 opponents to season-low yard marks, each of their last 2, if you will, and they're catching Tennessee in here off of a rare win here. I got like Vegas in this football game. Yeah,
it may not be a bad idea to go with Vegas and with the Patriots just because to have the Saints and or maybe take a money line on both, parlay it. Or a teaser, but I think what's better? Well, that's a good question. To money line parlay the Vegas where they're at with the 9 and the Patriots, both about 3.5, 4-point favorites in that range, about almost 2-1, or tease the 2.
Well, you're talking to a guy that does nothing but straight bets, so that's like
I know
what's better, opium or heroin?
Yeah, I feel like I'd still rather just go with the old-fashioned way. Instead of teasing it, because you probably aren't. I don't know what kind of odds you get with the 2, but I don't know. But that's something to keep in mind because the bottom line is, do you think the Saints and the Titans are going to win 2 straight? That's where I'm going with that.
That's exactly what the point is. Yes.
All right. More injury news. The Jets, believe it or not, they have good news. Jermaine Johnson looks like he's going to return to the lineup against Denver. Carolina is in a heap of mess now on the offensive line. It looks like they're now going to be down 3 starting offensive linemen against the Dallas Cowboys this week. Right tackle Taylor Moton is going to be out. They already have 2 on IR. That's big. I kind of like the Cowboys in that one. They're 13-5-1 against the spread in their last 19 as a road favorite, and they've beaten Carolina 3 straight times straight up and against the spread. Actually, not straight, but straight. Three straight times straight up and against the spread in the last 4 years by a total of 47 points. So they kind of own this series. And Carolina 0-6 against the spread at home versus the NFC East. So I kind of think the Cowboys are a good play for a variety of reasons, and maybe that as well. I'm not sure Carolina's good enough at this point in time to win a couple another back-to-back games too.
Well, I'm still not convinced that Dallas is a good team. And the thing that stands out to me is they're coming in here off back-to-back straight-up underdog wins and now laying points on the road, no less. And this is a roll of back-to-back underdog wins that they haven't handled at all in this century. They've been in it 3 times, and they've lost straight up and against the spread all 3 times. And that was with the better Dallas Cowboy football team, I might add. I'm not going to crusade for Carolina here, but it's going to keep me out of the Dallas Cowboys.
All right, and then wrapping up some of the injury or some of the interesting injury news and more. Alex Highsmith is going to make his return for the Steelers against Cleveland. Don't forget, Cleveland traveling from London and Pittsburgh off a bye. So there's a lot of reasons why I think people are That's some of the reasons why people are taking Pittsburgh this week. You've got the Chargers, Alt still out, and right tackle Pipkins is dealing with an injury. So keep an eye on that, because if Pipkins does not play, that's bad news. That's the top 3 tackles down for the Chargers. So that's bad news there. In the San Francisco-Tampa Bay matchup, we know Purdy's out. Pearsall's out again. Jennings is probably going to be a question mark until game time. And it looks like Chris Godwin is not going to play this week for Tampa Bay, but I don't think Baker Mayfield cares. And Detroit, down their top 2 corners, Arnold and Reed. Their star safety, Joseph, did not practice the last time we checked the report. Right tackle Taylor Decker, who didn't play last week, he did not practice the last report. So they have a lot more injuries in the Kansas City Chiefs right now, who, believe it or not, besides Rice at wide receiver, they are pretty much completely healthy right now. The Bills, meanwhile, on Monday night, Ed Oliver and Matt Milano still dealing with injuries. So who knows if they're going to play in their game against Atlanta. And Washington still down Terry McLaurin.
Let me throw one note in here, Greg, before we move on here.
Sure.
I believe in Pittsburgh game. One thing here at the top that really gets me is Pittsburgh is still one of these teams that has not out-yarded anybody. Ask the Philadelphia Eagles what that's all about. They still haven't out-yarded anybody after Thursday's game. But the other is if you're going to get to Pittsburgh in this game because they have a week of rest coming back from London and Cleveland doesn't, you're doing it for all the wrong reasons. And the reason I'm saying that is teams that come back from London without rest, that go right back into it the next week, they're 15-7 straight up and 13-10 to the number. So don't fade Cleveland on that particular angle.
There you go.
Yep.
Keep that lesson there, everybody. If you like Pittsburgh, you better have a different reason.
Yep.
Okay. College football. We've got a few minutes left here with Mark, who's got to run. So let's get into some of these games. Might as well start with this one tonight. And the line has actually popped up to 2.5 for North Texas. Now, again, they are the 5-0 favorite in this spot, taking on a South Florida team that I think you know by now, if you've been listening to me on this channel, that they're my top play to end up in the playoffs. And that doesn't mean that they can't lose this game and still get there. They can, because they haven't lost a conference game yet. Make it a little bit more difficult, but I do believe with Boise State losing now for a second time, I do believe that even if you're a 1-loss conference team and a 2-loss team overall, that you could still be the representative if you're from the American. I think the American champion is probably going to get in. James Madison, Old Dominion, that possible, but more likely. So again, that doesn't mean South Florida has to win this game, but I just think they're a better team. Are you surprised at all that this line is going up, or do you think there's a reason for it?
Well, you know, they're chasing North Texas here on this unbeaten run, but you know, the cautionary thing to me is they're another 5-0 fat cat. Team that opens up 5-0 comes favored in a football game like this to a football team in South Florida that really loves this role. They're a really, really good dog, as we've seen before in the past. And, you know, they're going to be fighting and playing, scratching and clawing to become bowl eligible this year. I like the Bulls in this football game here. I think the pressure's all on North Texas.
You know, one of our viewers sent me a comment, and he's a fervent gambler and said, you know, I've been doing this a while. Just so you know, he said that unranked favorites taking on the ranked teams are usually the way to go. That's basically it's if you have an unranked situation like this with North Texas and the ranked team, South Florida, is the dog, that the history tells you that it's the unranked favorite that has the edge there. Have you heard of that yourself?
I've heard that. You know, people think you're going to look to play those favorites against the unranked teams, which number one, you're going to always pay a price, and it doesn't work out that way. But my question to you is if I'm North Texas, I'm wondering why is South Florida ranked and we're not? That's probably the question they're asking, taking into this football game.
And that's maybe where that comes from.
Maybe it might be.
All right. Yeah. I mean, it's hey, we'll check it out. I mean, because he said there were 3 of those situations this week, and it just happens to be 2 of my top teams, South Florida and Arizona State. because Arizona State's going up against Utah, South Florida against North Texas. The other one is Michigan and USC. This comes from the North, one of our viewers who I believe is also a horse racing viewer as well. Okay. What about we'll do I tell you what, why don't we do that Arizona State game? What do you think about that matchup? What are you surprised like I am that the line is where is it? The line is 8.5 now. I checked the injury report. I didn't see any. I don't understand what's going on with this line. Maybe I need to check the injury report again.
I'm not aware of injuries, but it sounds to me as if there may be, for a run like this. I like both of the Arizona schools, by the way, this year, Greg.
Yeah.
I like Arizona, in fact, at home against BYU on Saturday as well. But this is an Arizona State football team that take a look here, all 4 teams that they played from the FBS world, they've held all 4 of those teams to season low yards. That's impressive. That's good stuff that teams who make bowls take along with them, and teams that maybe perhaps crash the party and make the playoffs, they take that along with them as well into football games like this. So I'm going to look at Arizona State in the football contest here. I know Utah is really on the rebound this year under Kyle Whittingham, but I love what Arizona State's doing this year. I like what they're doing defensively, especially, and Kenny Dillingham has done nothing wrong since he's taken over this football program here. 11 wins last year, and they look like they may have 10 or 11 wins in them again this year.
All right, well, I've got the report here, and that's exactly why the line has gone up. It's because they don't expect the starting quarterback Levitt to play. So at least Jeff Sims is the backup. He has 23 game appearances over his career. He played for Nebraska. He played for Georgia Tech. So he does have experience. It's better to go to a veteran like that than to an unknown commodity going to Utah. But yeah, it's looking like that's the reason that the line is blown up now to 9 almost. So you have to deal with that. But hey, Kenny Dillingham's a hell of a football coach.
Yes, he is.
And if any team can figure out a way to pull it out, even with your star quarterback going down, Arizona State could be that team. Wrapping it up, Mark, because this is a game that I still think is not a bad upset play. Do you have any upset plays that you're going to go with this week?
Oh, I'm going to have a few upset plays on my ticket here. You know that, Greg, because, I do have an infatuation for underdogs and underdogs that I think can win games. I sort of tipped my hat a little bit in that Arizona BYU game, and because I did that, I'm not going to go out and beat that horse up again. But I think Nebraska is overpriced again this football season here. And this is a gutty Maryland football team who has proven that they can step up in games. They opened up the season 4-0. They take their first loss against Washington last week. Now they're coming right back at home in a home underdog role here. I'm going to play Maryland plus the points to expose Nebraska this week.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. That would be a terrible loss for Nebraska.
Yes, terrible. Yep, but they've been known to take losses like that.
Yeah, no, that's Matt Rule's supposed to make sure they don't do that. So if it happens again, things are just not going to be looking good in Nebraska right now. Some upset plays. My top 4 double-digit upset plays this week are going to be Arkansas, New Mexico, and then the other 2 are going to be Northwestern and Illinois. And I'm going to do Illinois for a couple of reasons, but one of them is just because I think every team in college football this year, I think they could end up with laying an egg. In other words, like an upset that not many people are expecting because there's too much parity. And I think if Ohio State's going to get upset this week when nobody was expecting it, I think it's a perfect spot for that to happen. I also think that Penn State can do one of 2 things against Northwestern. They could give up completely on Franklin and absolutely get upset here. And Braun, the coach at Northwestern, has done a great job pulling off upsets since he's been the coach there. Or maybe they blow out Northwestern. So I think because I think it could go either way, that's fine with me. I'll take the 10-1 money line. And I'm also going to take Bobby Petrino getting his first opportunity to be the head coach once again, interim this time with Arkansas. We know they got an offense, so why not take the Arkansas Razorbacks to pull off the upset in his first start against Tennessee? And in New Mexico against Boise, I think this could be a good lay-down spot for Boise after the loss to Notre Dame, that maybe that's one of those season enders that they just realize deep inside, that's it. We can't go to the playoffs. after what we accomplished last year. It's just not going to happen. And New Mexico's having a very good, strong season that nobody really understands how strong they've been because they play out west. I'm not saying they're a juggernaut. Trust me, far from that. But where New Mexico usually is to where they're playing this season, they're actually ripe for potential upset, I think. So out of those 4 upset picks, which one would you go with?
Well, I would dot the I with Illinois. It's a football team that I've used this expression a lot, that if any team, you throw out their best game, you would throw out their worst game. That's who they really are. And I'm sure by the end of the season, we're going to be throwing out that Illinois game against Indiana. That just came out of nowhere. They were just wired in that football game. But they're a lot better football team than they brought a lot of good starters back. And Ohio State is not going to continue to keep rolling. I know they look like an NFL team, especially defensively. But I would look at Illinois, but I'm up because you grabbed that. I'm going to sacrifice that and go to the other eye on the card this week, and that's Indiana against Oregon. I like the Hoosiers' chances in this football game. I'm a big Kirk Cignetti fan. He's done terrific in his career. In conference games, when he has an undefeated record, he is 18-3 straight up, which would be a nice little money line play if he's able to do just that. And I think you're talking about a team that has the better offense and the better defense. Indiana is winning their football games by 317 yards a game this season. There's only one other team that wins stats better than Indiana this year. That's Missouri. So I think they bring a lot to the table here. So put me down for the Indiana Hoosiers for that double-digit upset winner.
All right, Mark, you've got it. That's a plan. Hopefully the 2 eyes will come through for us. That Indiana-Oregon game, that's the game of the week. Should be a lot of fun. 3:30 out west. Of course, we'll talk about all these games and take a look at Week 8 in college football next week. Matter of fact, Mark, myself, maybe even Andy Iskoe will join us next Friday. Check back here because when we are done talking a little NFL, we're going to jump on the midway point of college football season, which is pretty much next week, next week, where we're going to take a look and maybe do some predictions on the rest of the season, conference predictions, championship predictions. So another opportunity to kind of maybe do over some of our predictions from the beginning of the season. So, Mark, appreciate your time as always. And for anybody out there that wants to grab the newsletter before the weekend, what do they do?
Simply, Greg, just go to playbooksports.com. We have our playbook newsletter, our statistical midweek alert newsletter, and Victor King's totals tip sheet, which is on a real nice winning run right now. Take your choice, take them all at playbooksports.com.
And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. All that stuff really important if you want to support the channel here at Proline TV. That's going to wrap it up for our football coverage. I'll be back tomorrow night to talk NASCAR after practice and qualifying in Vegas. And I shouldn't say we're done talking. At least we're done talking football. If you're a Penn State fan, the Penn State postgame show should be around 7:30 or later tomorrow night following the game against Northwestern right here on Proline TV. For Mark Lawrence, I'm Greg DePalma. And have a great weekend, everybody. And we'll see everybody again hopefully next week.
Be well.